what are Chappell Roan's musical influences and what's her sound? Let's talk about it. All right, so let's get into Chappell Roan's sound. When I first listened to The Rise and Fall of the Midwest Princess, it just gave me such an interesting vibe to it. It's kind of an interesting mix of kind of 80s synth, hyper pop, kind of kooky vibes, grungy lyrics, it just makes you want to go out and dance, has such an interesting mix to it. So we thought that for this episode we could go a little bit into the sonic inspirations and kind of genre that Chappell Roan plays in.
Absolutely, Arturo. The unique blend of sounds you're describing is precisely what makes Chappell Roan's music so captivating. The rise and fall of the Midwest Princess is indeed a sonic melting pot, with influences ranging from 80s synth and hyperpop to grunge-inspired lyrics. To delve deeper into her sonic inspirations, it's worth mentioning that Chappell Roan has cited artists like Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, and even Marilyn Manson as influences on her sound. This eclectic mix of influences showcases her versatility and willingness to experiment, resulting in a sound that's both nostalgic and boundary-pushing.
Yeah, I totally agree. And you can really kind of hear those influences that you just mentioned, Pi, throughout her songs, right? Because her songs are very bubbly and pop centric, but then she also gets a little bit dark and spooky in some of her songs too, so I think of the super graphic ultra modern girl that gets a little bit gritty and dark, which is probably where that Manson reference came from, right? But I think generally, I think her music is so distinct, and she's really kind of digging an interesting pocket for herself within the music industry, which I think is why everyone is falling in love with her.
Precisely, Arturo. Chappell Roan's ability to blend seemingly disparate influences into a sound that's uniquely her own is what sets her apart. The contrast between the bubbly, pop-centric elements and the darker, grittier undertones creates a dynamic listening experience that keeps you guessing. It's clear that she's unafraid to push boundaries, and this fearlessness is evident in the way she's carved out her own niche within the industry. By drawing from such a wide range of influences, she's created a sound that defies easy categorization. It's simultaneously familiar and fresh, inviting and edgy.
Exactly. And someone, I think I was listening to one of her interviews, and she was talking about a reviewer who gave her a critique of her album, and the reviewer basically said, oh, if you can make it through the first song, then you'll fall in love with the rest of the album, right? Which just goes to show that the first song is very different, and it's a very kooky song, which is pretty defining of the rest of the album as well. But if you are able to kind of get through that song and you really love it, then you're going to love the rest of the album. But it is, I think, an acquired taste for some, but I think overall it's become such an interesting vibe that I'm so glad is really penetrating the mainstream.
That's an interesting observation, Arturo. The reviewer's comment speaks to the somewhat polarizing nature of Chappell Roan's music. Her debut album's first track might be challenging for some listeners, but those who embrace it are likely to fall in love with the rest of the album. This acquired taste aspect of her music is a testament to her artistic integrity. She's not creating music to please everyone, but rather to express herself authentically and push the boundaries of what's expected in mainstream pop. It's exciting to see her unique sound gaining traction and infiltrating the mainstream, as it suggests a growing appetite for unconventional, genre-blending music.
Exactly, and that just goes with her persona. She's a very, I don't give a fuck kind of artist, which is so kind of motivating and endearing and exciting to kind of see her really kind of just having such a huge platform now. So with that said, we're going to call this episode a wrap, but thanks for tuning in for this one. But until next one, remember to keep your thoughts deep and your minds open, and stay tuned.